Hello again and welcome to another edition of Crop Life Retail Week. I should be welcoming myself because I haven't been here in 3 weeks.
It's nice to have you back.
It is. It's nice to be back. I don't think anyone really, no one even said good morning to me this morning when I walked in, so I think maybe they thought I was fired or
Probably didn't
otherwise.
recognize you.
Could be. It's entirely possible. I just didn't want to see me. And you've been away too. I know you were at the Trade Summit, the AgriBusiness Global Trade Summit. We'll talk about that in a bit.
Yep.
But just wanted a couple things that I was doing along with PTOing. And I had an eventful weekend as my son totaled our van.
Oh, that's nice.
That was great. He's fine. It was a one car incident in which he turned and didn't see a pole and boom and it bent the tire, and so someone in Coshocton, a junkyard in Coshocton, Ohio, is enjoying my what's left of it.
That's always fun, yes.
That made for an interesting weekend. So anyway, I had that, but amidst that, I also was doing a little traveling. We had just yesterday, which we're recording this in advance. It'll be this past week. I was at the Coalition to Advance Precision Agriculture meeting, which is a coalition of DC advocacy groups in ag who've gotten together to try to talk to legislators, regulators about precision agriculture and the benefits and so forth. So they, a couple things came out of that. They've had some meetings with the USDA. There's Bill Northey is a key leader there, was the Secretary of Ag in Iowa. Some other folks that we know really well who are actually on board with precision and understand a little bit about it, and they want to learn more and they want to try to create a roadmap for how we can increase precision adoption and what that means, for agriculture overall. So we've got a really good audience on the precision side, so we're making some progress there. There's also something called the Precision Agriculture Connectivity Act that's making it through Congress right now, which is really kind of mandating FCC to create a task force and look at ways that we can increase the adoption of precision ag. Among them, certainly a rural broadband being a huge thing, making sure that we have enough bandwidth that we can get the data across, so we can have farmers and other folks using the tools that are out there. Because right now a lot of places still don't have, and no one knows that better than everyone on the audience, is difficult to get good, solid, consistent broadband out in the countryside. So that's another thing that's being worked on. That's a real positive. So that was actually a really good, productive meeting, and we were banging away at this for about 3 years now. We're really starting to get a little bit of traction. So that was real positive from recent travel.
That's good news.
Yeah, so it was good. And and Eric and I went to Growmark and did a talk there, but we'll save that for when Eric returns from wherever he is now. He is somewhere. I believe he's doing some travel for us for the Environmental Respect Award program right now, probably somewhere driving to Kentucky or Indiana. He's supposed to go in either way of Louisville.
Somewhere he's out there.
Somewhere he's out there driving and working hard for us, so thank you for that, sir. So now we'll talk about the Trade Summit a little bit, and I know we had a lot of interest from our retail friends, especially in the big distributor side, and what's going on with products and with China and everything. So what were the big takeaways for you?
Thanks, Paul. Actually, we had two programs that we co-hosted. The Biostimulant Commerce Con, which is the first time we did that program, and then led right into the Trade Summit, which we've been doing for about 13 years now.
Sure.
The first program was all about biostimulants, certainly one of the fastest growing segments of crop protection, crop inputs, and there's a lot of conferences out there. You can't seem to go a week without getting a notice in your email about a conference.
Every place in the world seems to have some fascination with biostimulants.
Absolutely. So we're no different, but we wanted to make our program a little bit different.
Sure.
And ours was really focusing on how to make a profit using biostimulants. It's not just what's the latest technology and what's the latest products out there, but it was really how do you turn it into turn profit with this. And it was throughout the supply chain, not just manufacturers and distributors, but everybody involved, because if growers aren't making money doing it, no one's gonna use them.
Sure.
So that was one thing we talked about in the modern portfolio. We had Giuseppe Natali, who's the CEO of Alagro, European biostimulant company, talk about the modern portfolio. It's really the idea that companies are going to have to supply a variety of products. They can't just be crop protection providers anymore. They really, if they want to be successful, they're going to have to cover the gamut of solutions.
Yeah, we've heard that from I think we've sensed that, and I think companies are trying to evolve into that. And we're hearing from retailers that they're looking for partners that can give them a diversity of products and be real partners in bringing some of these new products along. And if they're not carrying them, if they're not in control of them, it certainly it makes it more difficult for them to work with just one partner. So
sure. And that's actually why we held the Trade Summit in conjunction with the biostimulant, because we brought the crop protection people who are traditionally, that's what the Trade Summit is crop protection buyers and sellers. So we brought them together with the folks that focus primarily on biostimulants to help maybe develop some of those partnerships.
Sure.
Of course, we do, the big part of Trade Summit is crop protection. We had Bob Fairclough from Clefman Group, who writes for us every issue. And he talked about the crop protection market, which actually has seen a little bit of a rebound after a couple of years of decline. It peaked back in 2014 at $60.5 billion worldwide and started to drop in 2015 and 2016. But 2017, which is the latest we have full figures for, it actually increased to $54.1 billion after being at $53.1 billion in 2016. So things are starting to look good. And Bob also mentioned that we should expect to see 2.5% to 3% growth over the next 5 years. All the parameters are in place for continued growth, so that's a good sign.
Terrific.
So it's really good news. I guess there are some variables out there. We don't know what's going to go on with tariffs and a possible trade war between the U.S. and China. Certainly that's already had some impact on the industry, but that could also affect all this stuff. So we sort of have to take all this stuff with a grain of salt.
Yeah, and I think the Chinese supply and what's happening with manufacturers there and environmental regs, some is happening a little more probably quietly from the retail perspective, but certainly manufacturers seem to be very aware and are having some direct experience with supply problems in cases where plants are being shut down for environmental reasons and folks are found not having enough supply.
Yeah, that was certainly a topic of discussion at the Trade Summit. We had a presentation from a company, CAC China, that talked about the environmental regulations, and also CS Liu from Singapore spoke about those issues and whether or not other countries are going to maybe pick up some of the slack, India, possibly Eastern Europe. Right now, it's just people are wondering exactly how they're going to deal with some of this loss of product.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Well, that's great. I appreciate you joining us, Dan, for a little discussion on that. And I guess the most important thing for last is that you may have noticed we haven't had any mugs in a couple of weeks, and we're going to wait for Eric to come back. And we do have a backlog, but mugs are always welcome. So please do keep those things coming. And that's it for this edition of Crop Life Retail Week. Thanks for joining us, and we'll see you next week.